Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another video. This is part 2 of my ongoing series of videos showing my travel diary that I created years ago when I made a trip all the way from Taiwan onward through Nepal to India. And in the first video I showed the first 10 or 12 pages, and I'm going to link to that. If you missed it, you can look in the description of this video to watch that first video. But for now, let's go ahead and get back to the page where I left off, this illustration of Kathmandu. And now I can turn the page and show you something new that wasn't in the last video. At this point in the diary, I began to do illustrations that had a little more of a concept to them rather than just diary pages showing things that I did. As you can see here, there are significant differences between the people of Nepal and those who come to look at them. And so what I was doing here was showing, to me it was so strange to see the way that the local people dressed compared to these sort of hippie-ish people who, travelers. Not to say that all travelers looked like this, but quite a number of them looked strikingly different from the local people, and so I thought it would be fun to sort of draw them as a mirror image of one another. And this is rather serious here, what you see, the woman carrying this enormous basket of wood. That's not really an exaggeration. I saw a lot of women in Nepal carrying incredibly heavy loads, while men like this would walk right next to them. I wonder if that's changed in the years since then, but I was really struck by the incredible manual labor that the women of Nepal had to do just traditionally, it seemed, as part of the culture. Anyway, let's move on to the next page. I was always rather happy with the way this one turned out. Here are some people you're sure to meet in Kathmandu, and I think I was trying to be rather, brutally honest almost in terms of what I was seeing among the people. Now, if you are from Kathmandu today, you might not be pleased with how these people are being depicted here, but this is indeed what I saw an awful lot of. This guy selling tiger balm, this sort of scented ointment that I could keep away mosquitoes and different things like that, I believe was what that was all about. This guy selling drugs, frankly. Change money, hashish, opium, heroin, all this like really serious drug stuff that was available on the streets of Kathmandu. Kids running around. You can see this little hoop, like a homemade toy that they would run, and have it spin as they ran down the road. And then this woman selling one of these prayer wheels. Good price, And so I was trying not to pass judgment or anything. I was really just trying to record what I saw there. But you did certainly see some very interesting characters in the streets of Kathmandu. Let's move on now. More of a diary type page here. On Friday, April 20th, this would be the year 1990, I left Kathmandu and headed west to Pokhara. Hope I'm saying that right. And here, I'll go ahead and zoom, and I haven't really been zooming in so much. It says, from Pokhara, you can see Machapuchare, don't know if I'm saying that right, the Fishtail Mountain. And there really is a mountain. This is a cartoony, exaggerated version of it, but there really is a mountain in Kathmandu, or in Pokhara, I should say, that the side of the mountain looks a little bit like a fish tail. Hang on a second, I'm going to see if I can find, because I think I did a preparatory sketch of this bus illustration. I did indeed, and more importantly, I see that I missed showing you the full-blown preparatory sketch that I had done for that previous illustration. You can see I worked it all out in advance on this lined paper. Looking back, I have a little bit of regret that I did in this book some pretty good illustrations that are on this very disposable lined writing paper. So I really should have got myself a better sketchbook. But let's move on to the next page. Now this one is kind of interesting. It's the only one in the whole book that I did this way. My Trek. And it says, almost everyone who goes to Pokhara goes trekking in the mountains, and who was I to go against the trend? And at this point, it really does become a sort of almost comic book type of story where you go from one thing to the other. Day one, first stop, Dampus. And that this is supposedly me. I think I may have actually bought a hat because it was very hot and sunny. And here, Landruk. Here, what did it say? Stopped here for the night. My evening meal was prepared with a rock. And I do remember staying inside this kind of hut that was, you know, for the purpose of people like me doing these treks through the mountains. But I saw the woman cooking the meal, and she was indeed using a rock, something like that, to, I think, grind up spices or something like that. So that was certainly an interesting experience. Day two, and here I can take just a quick moment and show you a mountain drawing that I did that I based this illustration on. Here it is, the kind of spectacular view that I had, especially in the morning. I remember this beautiful view of the mountain there. And anyway, I got that in there as I moved on. And these roads, you know, it looks very simple in cartoon drawing, but it was going down was easy. Coming back up was very hard work. Gandrung, breakfast at the Excellent View Lodge. That must have been where I saw that beautiful view of the mountain. And then continued along here. It was rather hot that second day. And coming down to a place called Birethanti. Hang on a second. Oh, I wasn't showing that. It was rather hot that second day. Sorry, I've zoomed in so much I forget what can be seen. Had to add a little sunshine there. And here we go. Birethanti. Stopped here for the night, dipped my weary feet into the Madi River. And I do have happy memories of, after a very long day of hiking, arriving at this place where I could slip off the shoes and socks and cool my toes in the river. Day three, went across this bridge and had a very, very steep uphill climb. I remember this one was pretty brutal. Steep uphill climb from the river to Chandrakot, and continued along here, got caught in a hailstorm, came out of nowhere, I recall. And ended up, I think, spending one last night at this place called Sarangkot, as I recall, before finally coming back down to Pokhara, where I was staying at the Purna Guest House, home sweet home. At least it was, during my stay in Pokhara. Well, let's go ahead and turn the page and see what happens next. So as it turned out, this was actually the last page of Nepal, and on Wednesday, May 2nd, I left Nepal and headed south of the border. And I remember coming down from the mountains, and suddenly it became, you know, you were at a plain, and the ground or land became so much more flat, and that's why I did this super horizontal image to convey that. And then I was in India, and did this big opening page. You know, every one of these things I can see myself trying to make it look like a book that has already been published. And I think I was representing different religions here. I hope I'm right about that. And now we move on to much more of sort of a diary style type page. My first stop was in Varanasi, city of the Ganges. I hope I'm saying that right. Ganga, is that how it's pronounced? Please forgive me if I haven't learned the proper pronunciation of these things, even now, after traveling through India. But here it says, hundreds of Hindus come to bathe in the Ganges every morning, and almost as many tourists are there every morning to watch them. So you can see me consciously making note of all the tourism, you know. According to Hindu belief, you go straight to heaven if you die in Varanasi. I hope I'm right about that. That's what I was told. The wealthier deceased can afford to be cremated atop great stacks of wood out on the banks of the river Ganges. The poorer ones are cremated less glamorously. But I do remember seeing from a distance this very sight, someone whose body was being cremated in full open view of anyone who happened to be walking by. Here we get back to more of an illustration, something that I wanted to capture. It says, India's disposable cups are made of clay rather than plastic. Now, this is a bit of a generalization. I did see this in Varanasi, I believe it was, and maybe it is or it was at that time, a common practice in certain parts of India. I don't know if it was as widespread as I had guessed based on what I saw there, but indeed, these are stacks of handmade clay cups, and the people would drink and then just toss them on the ground, and they would get, broken up into little pieces. And indeed, I have the preparatory sketch here. You can see me working out the sketch before I actually made the illustration. And this whole project was sort of training for me as an illustrator. I think I was learning my craft many years before I would finally get paid to do it professionally. Let's go to the next page. A good shave is never very far away in India. And indeed, I myself got a shave this way, out on the street, just sitting on the ground. These guys with carrying these little cases around would actually give you a shave. Of course, you don't have hot water, which is very helpful when you're trying to shave, but they would just use a very fresh blade. I think they put some ointment on you, and they would go and shave you right there on the street. I couldn't resist trying it at least once, just because it seemed like such a unique experience. And this, sadly, will have to be the last page that I show you in this video. I'll be back with a third video that completes the journey, but this is maybe my favorite out of all the illustrations I did. Local color. I was trying to capture the incredible beauty of the clothing that I saw in India, and I decided to, rather than try to just draw literally what it looked like, I would try to express the incredible feeling, that I had when I saw these beautiful colors. And you can see me just kind of going crazy with all the details, attempting to capture the incredible beauty of clothing, I should say, of people from all walks of life. I don't think these were necessarily wealthy people. Even people of humble origins seem to have very, very beautiful saris that they were wearing as they walked down the street. And indeed, I did see mothers and daughters with water jugs on top of their heads, and that was among the duties that I saw. Again, I don't know how common these practices are now, but I certainly saw women going to the well, just as in years gone by, and scooping up the water and bringing it home for use in the home where they presumably didn't have running water. And as I said, yes, this will have to be the last page for this time, but I'll be coming back to show you more, finishing off my journey and revealing how it came to an end. Not quite as I had expected it to, but I'll sort of leave you with that teaser and bring the video to a close right here. I want to thank you all for watching it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back with another one real soon.